It's 17:06 GMT. This is Bola Mosuro with Focus on Africa from the BBC World Service. And let's talk now about the mobile phone industry, which is big business across Africa. Profits can run into tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars. But in Sierra Leone, a coalition of customers complained they were being shortchanged and took the big giants to court. Well, that was 5 years ago, and today the court was finally due to give a verdict in their case. But this afternoon, we heard there was a dramatic development when the chief plaintiff representing the customers, who call themselves the Native Consortium, he was arrested outside the court. Well, Umaru Fafana has been at the court in Freetown for most of the day, and he joins us now. So evening, Umaru, did the judge finally give judgment in this case raised by the Native Consortium, but did he also decide what was happening to this plaintiff, Mr. Abu, who was detained earlier?
Hi, Bola. Well, it's been a long running, a very fast-moving event here this morning up to this evening. Justice Adrian Fisher arrived in court and he gave his judgment, which lasted for anywhere between 2 hours and 2.5 hours. But shortly before he arrived, a group of under-sheriffs and some prison officers approached one of the key plaintiffs. His name is Edmund Abu. And then he said to him, they said to him that they had a warrant for his arrest. And they brought out the warrant, which I saw myself. I mean, saying that Justice Fisher had signed this warrant because of what he done, which he had deemed as being contemptible or contemptuous of the court. So as a result, he was arrested and locked up. And a couple of hours or so later, Justice Fisher appeared in court to read out his judgments, in which case he sort of like more or less dismissed the matter, which Edmund Abu and at the very least over 200 other plaintiffs had brought before him, trying to challenge the two biggest mobile phone networks in the country. And then he later on explained why he had ordered Edmund Abu's arrest. But shortly we'll talk about that. Once he had dismissed the matter, I sort of sought the reaction of the one of the key lawyers for the plaintiffs. His name is Samuel Navo.
The judgment went against us, and we will duly have audience with our clients and advise them accordingly as to the next step to take. But we would want to sit first of all and have audience with our clients.
And do you plan to appeal?
Obviously, we feel very strongly regarding the judgment and we are inclined to appeal. But as I have indicated, we would have conference with our clients.
And one of those key clients has been sent behind bars for 21 days.
I think we will have to try to get access to him firstly whilst he's down in custody.
So Samuel Navo there, one of the lawyers for the 300 plaintiffs, including Edmund Abu. There must be disappointment all around, not just that their case has been dismissed, Umaru, but also that Edmund Abu now finds himself behind bars?
Absolutely. His detention has more or less eclipsed the whole case, concerning the two biggest telecommunications companies in the country, something which people were really very much looking forward to. And the judge took real pains. He really went into detail in his ruling, in his judgment, sort of like trying to bring all the cases that have been brought against him. Orange, Sierra Leone, Africell, as well as the regulatory body, the National Telecommunications Commission, who were accused by the plaintiffs of reneging on their responsibility to protect the customers. But then Abu's detention was what really occupied the minds of many people, and it does up to this time. In the last few moments, I've got calls from civil society groups who are really challenging the fact that he was arrested. But the judge himself, after reading out his judgment, said that he had ordered his arrest because of what he said that Abu had said outside, which he said kind of like impugned the credibility of not just himself or his person, but of the judiciary and of the country. He sort of like, alluded to the allegation that Edmund Abu had said some things which were completely wrong and had accused him of leaking his judgments and things around those. But then clearly, his supporters say that that's not the case. Abu himself was asked to apparently make an apology before the judge after a commissioner from the country's Human Rights Commission had made a case for him to be released. And then he said that he wasn't aware that it's Abu, that he didn't know why his arrest had been ordered. But in any case, he said he was happy to apologize. The judge took exception to that, and then he sent him behind bars for 21 days.
It's a rather extraordinary case, isn't it? Especially when you say that he was said to have leaked a judgment. You know, how would he have known what the judgment would have been? But I guess here he's talking about sub judice, even though this is a man who was a plaintiff in the case. What happens now, Umaru? Because it is all rather complicated and very dramatic, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is. It is very complicated, and the case itself has been complicated, and Justice Adrian Fisher said that in court, that it had been a very complicated matter for him. This thing has rumbled on for years, and 4 judges have sat on this matter to look into these allegations against the 3 defendants, the 2 telcos, as well as the regulatory body. We don't know what happens now. The lawyers say they're going to confer first with their clients before determining their next action. It is likely they will appeal. In terms of Edmund Abu's own case, it's going to be a fresh case against Edmund Abu now, because his contempt charges will be read before him, and that hearing will be held in 21 days before Justice Fisher. And that has to happen before anything gets clearer regarding appealing the case, substantive case itself.
And briefly, not just asking about Mr. Abu himself, but just about, and the plaintiffs, but ordinary Sierra Leoneans, are they very upset about what's happened, given how powerful these phone companies we know are across not just the Africa, but across the world?
The telecommunications companies here are very popular but not loved. People obviously can't do without them, so they do use them. But then in terms of whether they like them or not, they accuse them of all sorts of things, which of course the companies have denied, saying their running cost is very high, therefore they've got to charge the way they've got to charge. Abu's arrest has left so many people livid. Social media has gone gung-ho in terms of people questioning his arrest and saying that he ought not to be kept behind bars for that long.
Umaru, thank you very much indeed. Umaru Fofana, our correspondent in Freetown.